These are 5 harsh truths about life I wish someone told me when I was 18. If you're a young man in your 20s, this video is for you. You can avoid making the same mistakes that I've made for so long now. Truth number 1 is understand what distractions really are. Distraction is defined as something that takes away our full attention from our main goal. We often think of distractions when we're working, when we're scrolling on our phone, watching Netflix all day, and yeah, those are forms of distractions, but they're not the only one. If your main goal is to do one thing and you do anything but that, you are distracted. It doesn't matter how important or how urgent the other thing is. Let me give you an example. Say you made it a goal to run today. If you found yourself getting caught up, talking with friends, going grocery shopping, even cleaning your whole house, you might feel like you were productive and busy, but you were actually distracted. I always felt busy, but at the same time, I felt that I wasn't doing anything meaningful with my life, but I could never figure out why I felt that way. The first problem was that I never defined what my main goal even was. That if at the end of the day, if I only did that one thing, that was a good day. And second, because I never defined it, I let other tasks and goals that seemed important take all of my time and energy. My goal has been content creation for years now, but I would never make the time for it. Back when I was still in school, I told myself that I would make time once I was done school to make videos. Then I had to get a job, and I told myself that I would make time to make videos once I wasn't busy with work. Now I find myself at 25 and still always busy, but never making time for the things that are the most important to me. What I've learned is that being busy is a distraction from creating the life we want. I was always busy with work, commitment with friends, my hobbies. While these things are important in my life, they weren't the most important goal. Yet, I let them take up all of my time. We can spend our whole lives distracted and never work towards actually building the life that we want. You need to understand what the distractions are in your life. What is taking your time and energy from what you want to do? Truth number 2 is learn how to commit to one goal. If you're someone who has a lot of different interests, hobbies, and passions, you have to learn how to commit to one goal at a time if you want to achieve anything extraordinary. We hear success stories about people who were completely obsessed with one thing. They make it sound like they always knew they had just one path to follow. But the part that's often left out of their story are all of the sacrifices they had to make to focus on that one thing. I have so many different goals, desires, and passions, and what I've come to realize is that I have to say no to everything that isn't the main goal. It doesn't feel good to say no to the things that I want to do, but it's the sacrifice I have to make to achieve success. This is the truth I'm still learning to accept even today. Learning how to focus on one thing and saying no to everything else. For the past year, I trained for a marathon with the goal of running a sub 4 hour. This resulted in me pouring all of my energy towards running and saying no to everything else. This was the cost of my goal. If I didn't want to commit to it, I wouldn't have achieved what I set out to do. All the time I spent running by myself in the snow, all the Saturday mornings I spent on the trail instead of sleeping in, that was the price I had to pay. What I've learned is that if I'm going to make something my goal to pursue, I have to value it over not only distractions, but other meaningful goals I could be doing with my time. We can be anything we want, but we can't be everything. Truth number 3 is knowing where your impulses come from. Has there ever been a time you were grateful you followed your impulses? I can't remember a single time where I smoked, overate, stayed in bed, watched porn, and I was grateful that I listened to those impulses. We have the ability to think about the past, present, and future. We might not be able to control our future entirely, but we can at least decide which direction we want to walk in. Most creatures can't do this. This is why a lion eats as much of its prey as it can when it's hungry. It doesn't think to eat just enough so it's not hungry today and store the rest for tomorrow. That's the biggest difference between us and other animals. Our ability to see our future and know what we want to do with it. We have the ability to control our impulses. When we live to seek out instant gratification, we forget about the consequences of all of our actions. I think this is especially true for young men. We all live as if our actions have no consequences for the future. We go out and smoke too much, we regret it the day after we wake up, but by the next night, we're already looking out for that next high. If you want to live a life of only chasing immediate pleasure, that's fine. Nobody says you can't do that. But the issue is when you have goals, desires, and dreams that require for you to sacrifice those impulses to live the life you want. If you can be in charge of your impulses, then you're set. Why did I eat more food when my stomach was full? Why did I smoke more weed when I was already high? Why did I stay up late watching porn when my body was falling asleep? Whenever I get stuck in a loop of following my urges, I always hate on myself. I start getting frustrated. I try to control myself, and that sort of cycle always leads to relapsing and feeling out of control and just overall frustrated all the time. But I'm able to break that cycle when I understand why that cycle even started in the first place. And it always starts with one impulse taking control of me, which leads to another. And being able to just put that into context now helps me understand where I can just learn to take a breath and stop. When I started getting curious about my impulses, I realized they weren't random. These impulses let me avoid my uncomfortable emotions. I was anxious about the future, angry at my girlfriend, ashamed at how I failed today, disappointed in the life I was living. The impulses for instant gratification serve a purpose: to bring us pleasure and forget about our problems, which becomes especially strong when we're in a state of fear, anxiety, and worry. But no matter how good it feels to listen to your impulses in the moment, if it's taking away from the life you want, the person you want to be, then at the end of the day, it's just an emotional crutch that you're relying on to get through a hard day, get through a tough day. And I'm learning now how to get through those days without falling into a spiral of impulses, which is really hard because for a long time it's been the only thing I've known on how to deal with emotional pain, because that's ultimately where impulses come from, is emotional pain. And learning to work through it now is helping me understand how I can act the way that I truly want to. Truth number 4 is know what your dreams are. Understanding what your distractions are, where your impulses come from, and having one goal at a time, like all of these are pointless if you don't know what your dream is. I've struggled with answering this question because I've spent my 20s just floating around, always choosing comfort over discomfort and never really wanting to make sacrifices for my future. People say find your passion and you will never work a day in your life. Find what feels like play to you and work to others. What the fuck does this even mean? I could never understand how someone could pursue their dreams and have fun the whole time. This made me believe that whenever I struggled at something, even if I genuinely wanted the outcome, it meant that it wasn't for me because I suffered to get there. Last year, I climbed Mount Fuji with my brother. I was tired, exhausted, and frustrated with the climb up the mountain. But I dreamed about reaching the top with my brother. That made me feel that the pain I was enduring in the moment was worth it because I wanted the outcome so badly. Knowing what your dreams are means knowing what you are willing to suffer to achieve. I haven't come across a lifestyle where the moment I have a dream I want to accomplish, it feels like play and passion all the way through. It's quite the opposite. It feels like the hardest thing you will ever work towards. Nobody else will ever understand how valuable and important your dreams are. And if you're not putting in the work and time to make your dream come true, then nobody else will. Young men are told by the world to live it up while we're young and enjoy our 20s, which to our monkey minds means to just live a life following your impulses and chasing short-term pleasures. But if you're a man who wants to accomplish anything worthwhile, it won't just take hard work, but commitment and consistency. You have to decide now, while you're still young, what sort of life, what sort of dream you are willing to suffer to achieve. If you don't discover what your dream is, you will find yourself living with regrets. The dream doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be something you commit to for your whole life. It just has to be a dream that is enough to get you out of bed and make you work harder than you ever have on anything else, because you know you're building towards a life you want. If you don't find what your dream is, you will find yourself living every single day with regrets. When you're distracted, not pursuing a goal, and listening to your impulses, it's easy to fall into the trap of only thinking about today. But eventually, tomorrow always comes. And if we aren't satisfied with what our today looks like, then it means we won't be satisfied with tomorrow either. The only way we can become satisfied with our everyday struggles and sacrifices is if we know it's for a better future, that it's for our dream life. Truth number 5 is that love requires work. A lot of work. When I was a teenager, I thought that the idea of love was all based on the act of falling in love. I used to think that love was meant to be happy and romantic all the time. Years of consuming romance songs, TVs, movies, and stories left me thinking that once I won the girl, all the work was done, and all I had to do was enjoy the relationship. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is that when you meet someone who is right for you, you will have to work harder than on anything else to make that relationship work in this uncertain world. I've heard from people that when you meet the right person, the relationship is supposed to feel easy. I don't know anyone who has ever been in a relationship where they didn't have to compromise, make sacrifice, have difficult conversations, and had an easy relationship all the way through. What I've learned is that nobody truly understands love without understanding how much they are willing to work and sacrifice for it. It's easy to think you love someone when you're in the honeymoon phase, where everything is new and everything is exciting, and you haven't had to make sacrifices to make your relationship work. I met my girl on the plane while headed to Vietnam. We spoke a lot on the plane, and I ended up spending most of my time while traveling with her, and I grew to fall in love with her. Those first few weeks of traveling and falling in love felt like they were part of a movie. But what they don't show you in the movie is the scene where you have to now go back home and go back to your normal, everyday, stressful life while also learning to sacrifice, love, and make time for your girl. Although we live in the same country, we are 6 hours away from each other, and it takes a lot of work to make a long distance relationship work. The feeling I had when falling in love with her quickly faded in the face of everyday stress and responsibility. At the core of every single argument, struggle, and fight in a relationship is the question, how much do you love the other person to be willing to sacrifice and compromise for them? I have to be willing to sacrifice so much in the moment to be rewarded for it weeks, months, even years later on in this relationship. I know that the work I'm putting in now will translate to us smiling and being happy to see each other when we talk over the phone. It's the peace that I feel when I fall asleep after talking to her. And it's the knowledge that in the future we will get to be together. These small moments take so much work, sacrifice, and commitment that if either of us decided to suddenly give up one day, the relationship simply wouldn't work. As a boy, I only thought about myself when I thought about love, about how nice it would be to have a girlfriend, how I would have someone who cared and loved me. But the truth is, when you're in a relationship that truly works, you're rarely thinking about yourself. You're not even thinking about your partner either. You're thinking about the idea of both of you, which is that you do what is best for both of you rather than for one person in the relationship. Nobody likes to hear that love requires work. Before I got into this relationship, I thought love would come to me as easy as the need to breathe. But the truth is that when you care about someone and the relationship so much, you will have to work and fight for it every day. You both will. And you both feel lucky to be able to do the work on the relationship that is so meaningful to both of you. These 5 truths took me years to figure out, and honestly, I'm still learning how to apply them. If you're younger than me, you have the chance to avoid making the mistakes that I have made for so long now. If you found any value in this video, let me know, and thanks for watching.